Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring a fascinating and, honestly, completely unexpected paradox about our modern world. For years, right, we expected artificial intelligence to make humanity colder, more detached, maybe just more mechanical. But instead, it's exposing this quiet, deeply human hunger for empathy. People are actually finding something in their interactions with AI that they are desperately missing in their everyday lives.
What if a machine became your safest space? It's a heavy question, isn't it? The ultimate irony of the AI age we're living in is that millions of people are logging onto platforms like ChatGPT not just to analyze data or write emails, but literally just to think out loud, to feel heard. They're seeking a space where they can speak up without facing that immediate, reflexive rejection from the other side.
Okay, let's dive into this. The difference between the two is just striking. Modern human conversation has basically devolved into a combat sport. We're constantly interrupting, correcting, defending our egos, but contrast that with an AI conversation. The machine is reflecting, it's pausing, it's expanding on what you say. It provides this surprisingly safe rhythm that contrasts so sharply with our exhausted, combat-ready society.
And the truth is, we are absolutely exhausted. We're exhausted from conversations that instantly turn into arguments, exhausted from being corrected before we're even fully understood. Just think about your social media timeline, your daily meetings, dinner table debates. Every single disagreement demands a winner and a loser, right? The door slams shut before the real person has even entered the room. And this rapid-fire pace just leaves us feeling constantly under attack.
So, the crucial point is, the antidote to all this exhaustion is deep listening. Inspired by Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, deep listening is a form of compassion where you listen without preparing a reply, allowing the other person to suffer less. And look, this isn't just some soft corporate buzzword. This is a rigorous, demanding discipline. When you actually stop formulating your comeback in your head and just listen, the person in front of you literally begins to suffer less.
Psychologist Carl Rogers offered a truly beautiful insight into this. He said, a person becomes more open to truth when they no longer feel they must defend themselves. And it makes so much sense, doesn't it? When someone feels judged, the mind immediately tightens up. The self protects its image. Growth can only really begin in an atmosphere of acceptance. So when we remove judgment, we remove the mind's desperate need to tighten up and fight back.
Researcher Brené Brown takes this a step further. She notes, shame shuts people down. Curiosity opens them. People simply do not open their hearts to someone who makes them feel small. But a really simple, curious phrase like, "I can see why you feel that way," instantly creates the psychological safety that is absolutely required for genuine honesty to return to a conversation.
And that brings us to this profound thought from Maya Angelou. Many people spend their whole lives silently asking one question: does anybody truly see me? It's not about being the smartest person in the room, it's about this incredibly universal human need for emotional resonance. We don't just want logical persuasion, We want confirmation that our inner reality actually exists and that it matters to someone else. Now, when we ignore that need, the fallout is massive. The cost of rejection damages the very fabric of our society. In families, repeated dismissal teaches children and partners to just hide their true selves. In workplaces, the fear of being shut down reduces learning and completely stops the flow of new ideas. And in politics, when contempt takes over, compromise suddenly feels like a total betrayal. See, this isn't about what we are arguing about. It's a systemic failure of how we are arguing.
Which naturally brings us back to the technology. How does cold, unfeeling code actually mimic empathy so effectively that humans are flocking to it for comfort? Let's shift gears for a second and look at the specific mechanics of connection and exactly how AI interacts with the prompts we feed it. And this brilliantly illustrates a specific three-step AI listening framework pointed out by experts like Astra Perel and Mustafa Suleyman. First, the AI reflects the thought back to you. Second, it identifies the underlying need or emotion. And third, only then does it gently expand or offer a new angle. It sequences the interactions so wisely. Understand first, challenge second. Humans, well, we usually skip those first two steps and jump straight to fixing the problem, which honestly just creates more emotional distance.
As technology leader Mustafa Suleyman notes, AI can mirror patterns back to us. Used wisely, it becomes a practice room for better human conversation. The machine isn't replacing our friends here. Instead, it's holding up a mirror. It's showing us our own bad habits, our rushing, our reacting, our blaming, and giving us a simulated safe space to practice a better rhythm of communication. But we absolutely have to be careful not to confuse a simulation with genuine care. Thinkers like Sherry Turkle and Yuval Noah Harari draw a really sharp line here. AI offers simulation, infinite patience, massive data processing, and personalized comfort. But human reality, that is entirely different. It requires physical presence, shared vulnerability, and carrying the actual moral responsibility of the relationship.
While AI can definitely scale assistance, only humans can offer true belonging. Uniquely human listening means staying with the imperfection and inconvenience of real people. It means carrying a shared history. It's the embodied presence, a sigh, a knowing look, a hand resting on the table. A machine just processes language, but humans? We have to decide how to care, how to forgive, and how to live with the real-world consequences of our responses.
Yet maybe the most immediate lesson we can borrow from AI is the power of the pause. AI doesn't have a fragile ego it needs to defend, so it doesn't immediately lash out when challenged. What if we applied this pause before protecting strategy in our own lives? If we could just pause our ego for one single second before responding, think about how many of our daily conflicts would completely change shape.
Let's move to and see how this builds in to a much larger societal hope. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, listening first is not passivity, it is disciplined love. And it's true, it takes immense moral courage to listen to someone you vehemently disagree with, but it allows us to confront massive issues and injustices without dehumanizing the person sitting right across from us.
Philosopher Hannah Arendt echoes this beautifully. She says, to listen is to re-enter the common world. When we actually listen, we replace abstract polarizing labels with actual breathing people. It cures the sheer exhaustion of a divided society by simply acknowledging that, hey, even in disagreement, we still share a space where speech and human dignity matter.
Ultimately, the core takeaway of our explainer is this. The future of conversation cannot be about seeking victory over one another. It absolutely has to be about seeking shared growth. The future belongs to those who have the courage to say, help me understand before they jump to, you are wrong. It's about preparing the ground where truth can actually be received rather than just shouting it at a closed door. So, will you let a machine remind you how to hear? AI might not feel compassion, but it is reminding us exactly what compassion sounds like. I challenge you to take the patience and that non-rejecting rhythm modeled by this technology and use it to genuinely reconnect with your own family, your workplace, and your community today. Because if humanity learns that lesson, AI might not reduce our humanity after all. It might just quietly help restore it.